Welcome, dear guests. Today, we'll be taking a high-level look at the world crafted by Project Moon. This will be an introductory, broad overview of the city and its inner workings. There are quite a few concepts and terms that ebb and flow throughout the games that could do with a bit of elaboration. I'll try to briefly touch on everything, so please enjoy. Most of all civilization has been condensed into one city due to the world's resources having been majorly depleted. Both outside and within the confines of the city exists a dystopian landscape where, despite technology advancing to such a degree that food is no longer an issue, genetic alterations are accessible and commonplace, transportation is near instantaneous, and artificial intelligence rivals or exceeds the capabilities of human beings. The citizens still live lives full of hunger, pain, fear, and isolation. The city is the location that all major stories produced by Project Moon have taken place thus far. It's a massive metropolis spanning 25 districts, 1 to 25, A to Y. Each district is effectively an entire city in and of itself due to how massive each segment of the city is. Seriously, the collective population of the city is around 7 billion people. Each district houses its own culture, traditions, laws, and governmental body. Sometimes they even have a unique currency. The universally accepted currency is called On, but some districts allow payment in more abstract forms, such as wish power, a quantifiable measurement of luck that can be traded, or time itself, seconds, minutes, and hours of your day, allowing you to live more or less than the normal 24 hours allotted normally every day. Each one of these districts is run by a wing of the world, or simply a wing for short. A wing is a major corporation that boasts itself as the industry leader for their respective line of business by utilizing their patented singularity. That is, a type of ultra-powerful technology that operates outside the known laws of physics to provide a unique, setting-defining service included but not limited to cloning, near-instantaneous teleportation, time manipulation, and creating matter from the immaterial. As a quick aside, I'd like to introduce you all to one of my favorite places in Library of Ruina, the Credenza. Here, we get a list of all the cutscenes and important lore bits of Library of Ruina compiled into one place. We'll be visiting the Credenza pretty frequently, so get comfortable with it as you'll be seeing it quite a bit. Alright, so, there are 25 districts. Each district is comprised of two major areas, the Nest and the Backstreets. There's the Nest, where the high, middle, and upper-class citizens reside. The Nest doesn't have to be at the center of the district, however. It's set wherever the wing of the world that runs the district sets up their headquarters. It may be more realistic to say that a wing runs the Nest rather than the district itself, though as a blanket statement, jurisdiction and law enforcement is still upheld by the wing that occupies the Nest, both in the Nest and the Backstreets. Comparatively to a district's backstreets, a Nest takes up a relatively small part of the district. It's accurate to say that a Nest would be regarded as a safer than average place to live, what with the district's wing having more control and influence over daily life. Those who work for a wing are referred to as feathers. They're typically also seen as important and influential people. While it can't be said for every feather, a hefty bulk of them boast wealth and power. The Backstreets house the lower class, less than major fixer offices, syndicates, and are on average incredibly dangerous. The Backstreets of every district maintain a consistently high crime and poverty rate. The laws of a district aren't kept as strictly enforced outside of the Nest, so it's common for the Backstreets of a district to house its own unique culture, separate from the Nest due to being, in a sense, put into a survival free-for-all. But where there is a free-for-all, there will be those who desire to take control of the reins of chaos. And here, we'll touch on syndicates and fixer offices. The Backstreets are managed by syndicates and fixer offices in a never-ending turf war. Fixer offices act as mercenary groups for hire, legally approved by the city to receive and complete requests from citizens and businesses. Syndicates are organized crime groups that accomplish roughly the same thing but without much care for the law, and operate under their own strict code and values. The top 5 syndicates fall into a collective group known as the Five Fingers. These syndicates are titled as fingers individually and the hand collectively. If you're curious about their names, we'll go over all 5. Looking at your left hand in an open palm moving left to right, there's the thumb, the index, the middle, the ring, and the pinky. Pretty self-explanatory and easy to remember. Each finger vies for control over the back streets with the intent of expanding their dominance across the city. The fingers compete with minor syndicates and fixer offices to do so, though will occasionally bring a minor syndicate under their wing as a subsidiary. Being part of a syndicate that's sponsored by a finger is a big deal that will net you a substantial reputation simply by existing, akin to being part of an office that gets commissioned by a wing. Fixer offices consist of, you guessed it, fixers. Fixers are loosely defined as hired mercenaries. Generally, offices will prefer peace and order wherever they are located. Not only does it keep the streets safe, but it also builds a reputation that you're someone folks should go to when they need something. An office is capable of anything from looking for lost cats to waging war on your behalf, to extremes on either side of the same coin. Each office offers unique services that are usually advertised up front, though additional services may be negotiated based on necessity. They can be bodyguards for hire, offer their services as a detective agency, provide intel on rival companies, act as assassins, and occasionally even perform contract work on a wing's behalf. They'll do pretty much anything if enough on is involved. Rain, a fixer from the somewhat reputable Moeller office, has this to say on the topic. When an office accepts a request, an official deed of contract must be drawn up before the case can be dealt with. It sounds big, but it's basically just a mutual promise. I think it's consideration in legal terms. The client will pay a certain amount of money as reward, and the fixers will do their best to resolve the case. They're plain and natural clauses for the most part. It seems people in this city are prone to breaking promises as simple as those without a contract to bind them, though. In any case, contracts serve as physical evidence to prove our performance and secure our payment when we submit reports to the association. Without a contract, there's no assurance that we'll score a record for our career or get our due payment. To give you an example, Big Sis resolved a huge case the other day, but we got absolutely nothing out of it because she forgot to sign a contract for it. Requests made by wings are quite different from those assigned by the associations in several aspects. You'll be made the envy of everyone once you get a request from a wing. First of all, a wing commissioning a regular office indicates that the office has been recognized to be worthy of its trust, and that alone can be a significant achievement. You'll have something to brag about to other fixers, and the payment is big as well. A single request from a wing resolved can keep us afloat for 3 months minimum. To be recognized as an official office, you'll need approval from the HANA Association. HANA acts as the head of all associations, offices, and fixers, granting approvals not only for offices, but also to approve fixer licenses and promotions as well. At a glance, one might assume that when viewed as a world of black and white, syndicates are the bad guys and office fixers are the good guys. As is usually the case, however, it's more of a gray area. Syndicates and offices are a lot more alike than you'd think. They offer the same services, the same protections, they use the same gear. They stand by different morals, have different policies, and the hierarchy might look a little different. Syndicates aren't bound to HANA Association's contractual guidelines, however, so truthfully, who you hire may boil down to cost and necessity. How hard is the job? How quickly do you need it done? How many people need to be assigned? If something bad happens, will the client reimburse the office or syndicate? There's a lot to consider, and what you'll be able to get depends on how much you're willing to spend. Hiring in an office over a syndicate would likely be more expensive, but it's usually a safer option, one that may not have as many strings attached and have a lower chance of them double-crossing you. After all, being a member of a syndicate does not exclude you from being a fixer, and of course vice versa. You may never know who or what you're really hiring until you see them in action. Let's look at what the syndicate member turned office fixer McCullen from Library of Ruina's Hook office has to say on the matter. It's not entirely impossible for a syndicate member to engage in fixer work or vice versa. It's a pretty common occurrence, actually. If you have the skills to back yourself up, multiple organizations will make sweet offers to recruit you. What matters the most here is the relationships you've built. Your fate depends on the things you've done, or karma, in other words. We didn't start out as fixers at the beginning. No, we were in fact part of a homicidal syndicate. We used to be murder for hire in District 23. It was a small syndicate ran by Naoki, I, and a few others, but our influence started to expand bit by bit since the young and talented Taein joined us. Our current boss was originally the representative of an office we raided. They visited us once they heard that we shredded their fixers brutally and hung their ragged corpses on the streets like scarecrows. Said they'll need people like us. I thought they were just freaky with weird tastes, but looking back, now I get why they chose us. It's a strategy. Each office does all kinds of sensational stunts to attract the attention of potential clients in this oversaturated market. They hold radical events such as pay for one request, get one free, or group weapons into different grades and offer a free exchange for one of their most expensive ones. And the gullible clients fall for it. They don't know how much more that 1+1 deal actually costs, or how it has limitations on the grades of requests you can make. They don't bother looking up to check if the top grade weapons are in fact used ones. Seems our boss didn't want to add lies to this industry that's already full of filthy schemes, but they still had to catch people's eyes somehow. And this is the result. Hire guys like us and proudly advertise it. Fixers from a former killer syndicate will tear things up for you. You can count on us. Hang up a slogan like this, people get hooked. If that suits their taste, that is. As a fixer, if you have a good reputation for completing the work given to you, you'll at least get offered work whether you end up joining an office or end up as part of a syndicate. There's no guarantee that every request will pay well, and sometimes an emptied wallet dictates whether you have the liberty to choose which request to accept or deny. Life as a fixer is a life spent living dangerously. You don't choose the career and expect to live a long life. As a result, it's encouraged that fixers keep their feelings such as empathy and compassion locked up, even to your own coworkers. Anyone can and will betray you in this world, which is a lesson that is continually taught to the naive and unfortunate residents of the city. While each district seems to have its own governmental body, run by the wing in the nest, and offices and syndicates in the back streets to manage the lesser rabble, the head has the final say and total authority over all who live in the city. The head is based in District 1, with District 2 and 3 providing additional assistance in the head's operations. Together, they function as a collaborative megacorporation that oversees the entire city. Despite holding such an important role in universe, there really isn't much that we know about the head in fine details. Though here's some of what we do know. The structure of the city starts with District 1 at the center of the map, segmenting clockwise outwards into every other district numerically until District 25. District 1 houses the nest of A-Corp. A-Corp is also known as the head, the supreme authority over the city. They work in tandem with B-Corp and C-Corp to maintain order and balance in the city. A-Corp deploys agents known as Arbiters. Arbiters function to enforce the laws of the city created by the head, as well as to handle patent disputes for singularities. There aren't very many laws that we know the head enforces, so we'll just cover them all here really quick. No machines or AI can ever be made to resemble humans, including replacement bodies. Creation and distribution of firearms must be heavily regulated. You are forbidden from making or selling patented technology without purchasing the rights from the patent owner. You must pay taxes. No more than one of an individuals may exist in the city for longer than 7 days, cloned or original. During the night in the back streets, damage to residential buildings is forbidden. During the night in the back streets, invading someone's home without permission is forbidden. Complete resurrection of the mind and body are forbidden, though as long as the brain remains intact, you may utilize life insurance methods to resuscitate. Moving on, District 2 houses the nest of B-Corp. B Corp, also known as the Eye, is the corporation that assists the head in city operations and surveillance. The agents deployed by the Eye are known as Beholders of the Eye. We've only seen projections of Beholders in unclear and blurry images during a few scenes of Library of Ruina, making them currently the most elusive of the head's entourage, both in appearance and ability. Supposedly, they're capable of mass teleportation and evacuation of forbidden entities like the library, which was a megastructure that had covered an entire nest. District 3 houses the nest of C Corp, the Claw. They assist the head by providing military might, as well as enforcing the laws set by the head. The agents deployed by C Corp are known as Executioners of the Claw. The Claws are essentially super soldiers capable of feats of extreme physical power, dimensional manipulation, and bodily regeneration. When warnings issued by the head are ignored, such as warnings distributed to those who unlawfully manufacture or sell patented technology, or those who continuously fail to pay taxes, a Claw is dispatched to dispose of the offender. Additionally, it could be inferred that Claws accompany Arbiters on their missions. The Claws seem to operate at a lower rank than that of an Arbiter, having been seen strictly following the Arbiter's orders whilst accompanying them. The head usually keeps itself secluded and away from the political sphere surrounding wings in the backstreets, only showing their agents where a law has been broken. If you keep their laws, it's possible you'll never see them, regardless of your size or influence. A lot like Big Brother in the book 1984, they are always watching, ever vigilant, and merciless in the delivery of punishment. It's worth noting that there are special types of offices called workshops, also referred to as ateliers. Workshops are offices that specialize in the production of gear rather than the general busy work that your typical office provides. Workshops create weapons, armor, and tools, usually explicitly for use by other fixers. There's some workshops that offer their services beyond just production, however, such as the Leaflet Workshop, which deploys its fixers into the field, using their own products as a method of advertising and testing their effectiveness directly. Offices must adhere to the HANA Association regulations, as we know, but workshops must adhere to additional regulations to sell their products. A workshop must also pass an inspection from the Tres Association, which is an association that's also commonly referred to as simply the Workshop Association. Workshops and their products must pass a Tres Association evaluation, as well as follow strict guidelines set by the head. Any workshop or product that fails evaluation will be legally forbidden to partake in public trade. So, we've mentioned a few associations, but that begs the question, what exactly is an association and how do they differ from offices? Well, truly, associations are very similar to offices, though they operate at a much grander scale. Whereas an office is a standalone organization, an association covers multiple branches with numerous office locations. Simply put, an association is a larger, more influential company than an office. Small company, office. Big company, association. Biggest company, a wing of the world. There only exists 12 associations in the city, and they handle a lot of the high-risk work and major threats. The associations handle requests often made for fixers such as security, combat, assassination, intel, patenting, and trades. When there is money, there are associations. The associations follow the demand, not the other way around. Demand equals requests, and requests equals profit. It may seem too materialistic to you, but seeing how the associations work, you'll have to agree that money is their prime objective. For instance, the associations sort and classify every single notable event in the city. Urban myths, urban legends, urban plagues, urban nightmares, and stars of the city. Risk is not what determines their grade. The only question that matters is how much people are willing to pay to have the threat eliminated. The level of risk for any threat in the city, which includes syndicates, as well as the level of capability attached to fixers and offices, is managed by the HANA Association. First, we'll cover fixer grading, and then we'll cover threat levels. To even become a fixer, you must meet a few requirements. Number 1, be 20 years of age. Number 2, have taken and passed a HANA-assigned physical and mental test. If you pass, you'll be officially assigned as a Grade 9 fixer. Working alone as a fixer is a terrible idea that will often lead to unemployment and even death. No one will cover your back if you work alone, and unless your skills belie your grade to the point of absurdity, no one will hire a fixer that can't be held accountable by an office. Once you become a fixer, finding yourself an office to work for should be priority number 1. After all, it's nigh impossible for a no-name fixer to take jobs on their own. Choosing the right office is also important, but you can worry about that later. Only the skilled ones can afford to make choices, like decline offers from offices or ask to be transferred to another. Newcomers who've only just become fixers or incompetent planks who can't handle their work properly should be content with any office that accepts them. A fixer's capability is generalized through multiple ranks ranging from the lowest at grade 9 to the highest at grade 1. The catch is that all requests must be reported to the HANA Association after you deal with them. The report must include the details of the request, the client's info, how the case was resolved, and any other relevant information. Once the report has been submitted, HANA Association will assess the performance of the office and its fixers and evaluate them for promotion or demotion. That's how the grades of offices and fixers are updated. Therefore, a fixer's grade doesn't necessarily correlate with strength. Over time, a fixer will build reputation and merit. Do a good job enough times and you may get a promotion. Do a bad job and HANA may consider demoting you a grade, or in some rare cases, even stripping you off of your fixer license entirely. It's important to keep in mind, however, that the reputation and merit you maintain is largely built on either the reports that are submitted after a request is complete, or by who you know and what strings you can pull. If the office you work for doesn't give you due credit for the work you've done, it's possible you'll never move up on the corporate ladder no matter how capable you are. Working with an unreputable office may also affect your future hiring prospects, of course, so while you do need income to survive, try not to draw the short straw with that as best you can. Easier said than done, of course. While Grade 1 is the highest numerical rank for fixers, for those who truly excel and exceed the traditional skill will be given an incredibly honorable title of Color Fixer. A color is the dream and lifetime goal of all fixers who wish for freedom. Those who have been assigned a color are called the Colors. A color is the pride of the fixer and the associations. They put forward the Colors as great and successful people that the other fixers will look up to. They dream of earning wealth and fame and to be free like them one day. Colors are assigned by the HANA Association. They're bundled into such a category because the HANA deemed them to be the most ideal fixers. Because they're the most adequate individuals to deal with the stars of the city. The title of a fixer is forcibly given to fixers who qualify, essentially. Threats that offices and associations have to deal with fall across 7 categories. Canard is the first and lowest level threat. An example of a canard level threat would be what the city refers to as rats. Rats are hooligans and lowly gangsters that have neither the power nor money that resort to crime to make ends meet. Essentially, canard class threats are mostly nuisances that your average citizen wouldn't be bothered enough to put in an official request to dispose of them. Leave them be, and it's likely they'll leave you be. They aren't strong enough to start trouble and get away with it. Urban myth class threats are still a low priority, but have enough notability that the HANA Association has recognized them officially, such as a District 23 bistro that kidnaps civilians and turns them into meat pies to sell as a menu item, or a decently established syndicate that specializes in slaughter to send a message, as we've seen before from the fixers of the Hook office, prior to becoming fixers. You might be thinking, urban myth contains serial killers and hitmen. That sounds pretty serious. Why are these so low on the podium? Well, urban legend class threats are those that have grown to a size that most of the district's inhabitants now know about the threat. Considered a more serious threat, urban legend cases are more frequently picked up by offices and associations as soon as they pop up. Thankfully, unlike the other threat levels, we've been given a full report on an urban legend case written in the page of Salvador. Let's go through that to give you an idea of the power level we're currently dealing with. Case name, Thousand Needles. Serial code DN00113. Grade, Urban Legend. Date of occurrence, X21. Description: this document is a compilation of relevant information on the case of the 1,000 Needles, which occurred in the back streets of District 22. While a clear conclusion on this case has yet to be made, it is speculated to be a case of the distortion, based on the apparent inability to confirm the cause or analyze the composition. Case Report Entity A01. The first apparent source of the incident was wandering the back streets of District 22 before swelling up and exploding. Numerous needles were dispersed upon the explosion, flying in all directions. The needles, which stuck onto building walls, caused the site of the impact to melt and crack. When a human was struck with one of the needles, they were transformed into A02, going through the same bizarre process of detonation A01 did. The orange symbol on the nape of A01's neck was also found on the needles discharged from its body. When I arrived at the scene after taking the request, the bits of flesh scattered around the streets began to merge into one giant body using a brainstem focus resonator, becoming a 3-foot-tall mass that I will refer to as A03. A03 began throwing large needles, the length of which varied from 1 to 3 meters. Unlike the small needles fired from the explosion of A01 or A02 that could only leave small dents on building structures, the giant needles flung by A03 caused buildings to helplessly melt. In addition, local residents who stared into the entity's eyes or holes in its body soon produced a boiling sound before turning into A02, so I had to forbid people from observing it closely. Clearly, an urban legend level threat is no laughing matter. And we're only halfway through the list. Urban Plague class threats are typically those that have some degree of influence across multiple districts. It's hard to get brought up to Urban Plague without having already caused some degree of damage. A few signifiers would be a fast-growing list of deaths. Perhaps a few offices or even an association have already attempted to eliminate the threat and failed, losing their lives in the process. Or if the threat just has a large enough list of major crimes. A few urban plagues we know of are an entity known as Yesterday's Promise and a case called Laundry of Dreams. Yesterday's Promise is a major character and antagonist named Pluto, who holds a sizable role in Library of Ruina. The name Yesterday's Promise refers to Pluto's ability, which is a magical contract. Signing the contract will grant you some sort of negotiable boon, though should you fail to uphold your end of the bargain, horrible things may happen to you. As a fun fact, the urban legend case 1,000 Needles that we mentioned earlier had manifested itself as a result of someone failing to uphold the rules set by Yesterday's Promise, so we have a pretty good idea of how horrible the consequences of breaking the contract could be. The second instance of an urban plague case is Laundry of Dreams. This case is mentioned in Library of Ruina as an urban plague, though later shown in Distortion Detective after having been demoted down to urban legend. To fill you in, Distortion Detective is the currently on hiatus web novel published by Project Moon, which had been intended as a project to hone their writing style, as far as I can tell. There, we see that the Laundry of Dreams isn't necessarily a human threat, but rather it's a construct. Specifically, it was a laundromat. Yes, this urban plague level threat was effectively a really dangerous place to wash your clothes. The Laundry of Dreams appears as your everyday laundromat, with the exception that the machines couldn't function using regular money. After getting a coin from the exchange machine conveniently placed inside, you'd feel drawn to take off your skin, suddenly feeling that it's dirty and needs to be washed. Afterwards, you'd head over to the storage room and wear another person's husk. Wearing the clean and new clothing, they'd leave the laundromat as a brand new individual. It makes sense to me that this ended up being dropped from urban plague to urban legend. Moving on. Urban nightmare level threats are usually large enough that it has begun affecting most, if not all, districts to some degree, usually involving a plentiful loss of life or it heavily threatens a nest. To carry out the extermination of urban nightmare or higher level threats, certain nests will grant fixers an item that allows them free passage in between the nest and back streets, without having to slog through the intermediary checkpoints every time. We know that T-Corp in District 20 grants a Special Investigator badge, and P-Corp in District 16 grants a pass that acts as a work visa. two urban nightmare cases we've dealt with directly are in Limbus Company, what with the case of the Time Ripper and the case of La Mancha Land. The Time Ripper was an individual capable of literally killing time, damaging it and physically erasing it from existence. This would leave the victim stuck in place for a very long period of time. La Mancha Land was an entire amusement park filled with bloodthirsty vampires known as blood fiends. A Star of the City is the highest classification of threat that can be given by Hana Association. The most dangerous and powerful entities that exist in the city are reserved for this threat level. These types of threats cannot be eliminated by a mere Grade 1 fixer, and would require a team of multiple Grade 1 fixers or at least a color fixer to stand a chance. As an example, every Syndicate of the Hand, the 5 fingers, are considered Star of the City level threats. There's nothing that exceeds Star of the City, so the power scaling can be all over the place. For instance, a Star of the City class threat known as Blood Red Knight was a natural-born blood fiend. That is, essentially, a vampire that rose to Star of the City in a very short period of time, due to her excessively violent tendencies and having a kill count easily reaching quadruple digits. Her bedroom alone was decorated with strings made from the blood vessels of exactly 4,172 people. Not only did she have exceedingly strong physical capabilities, she was also able to turn those she kills into zombified puppets that would do her bidding to seek out more victims. She was eventually defeated, though it took many teams of fixers and 2 whole years of pursuit to finally take her down. Even then, she managed to escape. Due to living in hiding for a considerable amount of time, she eventually lost the title of Star of the City until her reappearance in Library of Ruina. In general, these threats scale according to the level of danger. I use in general because, as pointed out earlier, the real determining qualification is how much on folks are willing to dish out to get the problem resolved. Though there is an exception for impuritas civitatis, which is Latin for impurity of the city. Regardless of the level of danger, if an individual or construct is not allowed to exist in the city and must be removed, it will be put into this category. These impurities aren't issues that fixers get requests to solve. These are issues that the head deals with directly using their own agents. Here's what Mirane, the director of Hana Association Section 3, has to say on the matter, along with some other helpful information on associations as a little treat. There are 12 fixer associations across the city, and the Hana Association is the one in charge of general management of the rest. We're renowned for rating the threat level of hazards that occur in the city and grading fixers in offices. On top of that, we give out fixer licenses, issue official documents about certain requests, and assign colors to fixers who prove themselves to be beyond the grading system. Our association calls the shots on pretty much everything regarding fixer activity, although there is one thing the Hana Association can't touch on. The ratings of hazards in the city are as follows: Urban Myth, Urban Legend, Urban Plague, Urban Nightmare, Star of the City, and Impurity. Most other associations only deal with Star of the City or lower. Even though Hana Association has control over grading the hazards, there's one grade our association can't assign: the Impurity. Only the head has the authority to decide that. I don't know the exact rationale behind designating impurities. From what I can see, they seem to declare beings that defile the city as impurities and banish them to the outskirts. I suppose the head manages that part, since things like the ethics of the city aren't subjects we are qualified to discern. We get contextual clues here in this passage that Star of the City threats are primarily handled by associations rather than your everyday fixer offices. That makes sense, I believe, considering that associations have more ready access to multiple teams of higher-level fixers based in various districts. Of course, there does also exist regular offices that are a cut above the rest that can handle such threats and even specialize in exactly that. One office of substantial renown is Charles' office, an office consisting of only 12 fixers, each fixer holding the rank of Grade 1. They were the office credited for taking down Blood Red Knight alongside the color known as the Black Silence. Narratively, Charles' office is important, as it was the office our dear ham-pang-pang frequenting popcorn machine becoming wife-loving Roland, the deuteragonist of Library of Runa, was directly involved in. If this is your first exposure to Project Moon, you'll have no idea who I'm talking about, so I apologize for selfishly indulging in my esoteric community references for but a moment. I love this lanky James McAvoy looking travesty of a man, and hopefully with time you will too. To close out, I want to elaborate a bit more on the wings. Well, specifically what happens when a wing falls. See, while the wings of the world hold substantial power and influence over an entire district, and therefore influence over the entire city, whilst supplying and maintaining unique and powerful tools and/or services, they are by no means immutable constants of the city. When a wing falls, that opens a slot for something to replace the void that's left behind. This would obviously give you a significant advantage over all others should you manage to secure it, making it into something highly covetable. We've seen 2 nests fall, one directly and one only in flashbacks and bits and pieces. Both of these wings have been L-Corp. Keep in mind, these are the wings that we've seen fall, not wings that we know have fallen. For instance, we know that a lot of patents to singularities have entered public domain, thanks to the associated wing falling. 2 examples of these public domain patents include a technology to create tattoos that augment your physical capabilities, and a technology that allows the consumption of humans to create silk out of them based on their characteristics. When the populace of syndicates, offices, and other wings sense an opportunity to strike at a wing, whether by exploiting a weakness, uniting against a common cause, simply overwhelming them, in any historical way a war has ever broken out, a war may break out. For wherever greed exists, humanity will also be there to take what they want. War is certainly an unfortunate time for the bystanders. The backstreets are no exception. Truly, what a miserable place to live, huh? Not only do the residents of the backstreets have to fend for themselves against themselves, a war means outside forces also become a factor to worry about. A place of chaos reduced even further into the pit of chaos. I'm sure to some that actually sounds like a pretty fun time. Running a Dungeons & Dragons-esque campaign in the backstreets sounds like a narrative goldmine. Huh. I wonder if we'll ever get a Project Moon board game.